All right, let's kick this off. Today we're talking about deployment best practices. Everybody loves a good deployment. What nobody likes is a botched one, right? And so we're going to talk about how you can avoid that. I've got a wonderful guest with me who's going to be chiming in, and she's mainly here for some Q&A at the end. Sarah, how you doing?
Good morning, everybody, or afternoon, wherever you're from. Thanks for the nice intro, Phil. Good morning, everybody.
Sarah, what do you do at NUSO?
Yeah, so I my fancy title is Director of Partner Success, but I manage over a few different departments from our project management team, our customer service department, and as well as our porting team. So kind of all of those and those departments in the mix kind of touch a project from a time an agreement is signed with a customer. So once that is signed and port orders are submitted, it comes into my world with my team. And that is from everything from an agreement signed all the way until, the porting is completed and project is installed. So I'm kind of responsible for all of those worlds in a project deployment.
Love it. Well, thank you so much for being here, Sarah. Sarah is incredible at what she does. She's been in this industry for, has it been over 10 years, Sarah? Am I lying?
No. Yeah, well, it's been over 20 years. I've been in the telecom
so
world from.
Okay.
No, you were not lying, but you were being very gracious with my age. So
no. Hey, take pride in the age you have experienced. Yeah. It's. I love having people that are smarter than me on the call. It's great. So, we're gonna dive into this. We're gonna talk about the 3 phases of that perfect deployment. Number 1 is planning. Number 2, implementation and configuration. And then number 3, the rollout and the support. So if you have questions while I'm talking or Sarah's talking, throw it into the chat. We're going to get the questions at the end. We're not going to answer while we're presenting because we've got some pretty great stuff to talk about. Okay. PowerPoint work for me. There we go. Let's talk about the plan. Now, when I was putting these slides together, I was watching The Dark Knight, and that quote just really kicked in. Nobody panics when things go according to plan. And that is very true, especially when it comes to what we do. So first, we need to establish our goals. Determine what you want to achieve with the new phone system you're giving to your customers. So is it a better customer experience, better collaboration? Maybe this is a deployment into Teams, or maybe it's a deployment where they're using a web phone heavy mobile app. They're getting away from a physical phone. That is all very important. We need to then create user personas, identify different types of employees and what their, exact communication needs are going to be. So, is it a deployment at a restaurant where all they want is that wireless handset that they can walk around the whole place with? Is it a tech company that needs web phone and mobile phone, but they don't care about the physical phone as much? Those details are very important. And then we need to map out that call flow. So create a flow diagram to map out how you want calls to be routed. So let's think about things like the auto attendant. Let's think about unique call routing features. Do they need some ring all groups, some hunt groups, anything like that? And the great part is Sarah's team, as most of you probably know if you've done deployments with us, they help to gather this. It's not something you have to get on your own. NUSO can absolutely be there, work with your customers to gather this data that's so critical for a great deployment. Network readiness, so important. Nothing's worse than deploying a brand new phone system and their network's 20 years old and it's just a disaster. Not that that's ever happened. I'm not going to tell you stories. But we need to check bandwidth, right? So one of the things that's great about getting into their phone environment and doing an upgrade, there might be other things you can upgrade along the way that aren't even NUSO related. So maybe their ISP is terrible and they've been trying to get away. Let's work on that. Maybe they need new routers, things like that. Evaluate their equipment. So if they are rocking 20-year-old phones, I doubt it, but 10-year-old phones, Maybe we get them into some brand new Yay-Links, Polycoms, Grand Streams. There's tons of great options out there. Always make sure you disable SIP ALG, because you are going to get a ton of lag and interference with voice traffic if that setting is not disabled. We need to configure your network devices, so adjust your QoS setting to prioritize VoIP traffic and open necessary ports on your firewall. PoE, Power over Ethernet. That is our recommended power delivery Ethernet connectivity option, internet connectivity option. Now, there are phones out there. I know a lot of the Yay-Links do them, and some of the other brands do it too. They can just connect to any Wi-Fi. They've got it built in. We just recommend the PoE because, in our opinions, it's a stronger, more stable variant. All right. Now we're at phase 2. To me, ideas are worth nothing unless executed. Well, I've heard of Steve Jobs. Most people have a piece of him in our pockets with our phones. So none of that data we gathered really matters unless we do a good implementation, a good configuration as well. So we need to prepare that info that we've got. Now, this is important on the partner end. We want to make sure we get a current phone bill, a list of all the phone numbers that need to port, a completed letter of authorization, that's your LOA, your account numbers, and any associated PINs. Now, this information is crucial and it needs to be exact. We cannot have errors here because those errors can mess up things with like porting, which is just an absolute disaster. You don't want to deal with that. Hopefully you never have. Do not cancel your old service. Cannot say this enough. Sarah, I know you're like screaming it too. Don't do it until the porting process is complete. If you cancel prematurely, numbers could vanish. And that is something that no one wants, especially your customer.
Yeah, the biggest key thing here is that we can't port numbers unless they're active numbers. They must be in service active numbers. So, I do not cancel, the losing carrier service until after the port of the new project over to NUSO has been completed.
Yep. And if your customer is they want to cancel, put the fear of God into them and explain to them the ramifications of if they do that. They could lose those numbers, and that is just an absolute mess. Temp numbers, that's going to be your best friend. We do this all the time. So we can deploy, NUSO. We have access to thousands of numbers. We can give you temp numbers. We can turn up service. There's a lot of value here too, because your customer can get into that NUSO implementation world, start messing with the tools and using it before the port is fully complete.
Yeah, and I want to add here a little, every account that we turn up, whether it's SIP, UCAS, whatever, we do activate it with a test or temporary number that you can use to test a service prior to going live with the port completion. And in regards to kind of the porting and LOAs and paperwork, our projects can be done in a couple different ways. Some partners and customers prefer to get their system turned up completely live, active with a temp number. And then, so they put, porting, when you're doing the service agreement and the orders, the quote tool, you'd put like porting type as none. We turn it up with a net new number, and then porting, once everything's installed and service is live with a forward from their losing carrier to that new test number. That's kind of the one option our partners and end users go. And the other would be you set a signed agreement, you go ahead and this is the preferred option. The preferred way is submit the LOA with the numbers that need to port after the agreement has been signed right away. They sign it with a requested port date. That's at least, their desired date, I would say at least 10 days out from when you're sending off those documents. And then we will still give a test number, but we're working towards that go live port date, and you can test prior to that. So there's a couple different flavors and ways with porting and temp numbers during the implementation configuration process.
Great. That is great stuff, Sarah. Configuration. Use the data workbook provided by your NUSO project manager, Assign. So we do provide this with deployments. This is going to help with keeping your data all in line. So things like names, extension numbers, email addresses, E911 addresses, very important. So use the tools that we give you if we give them. Set up users and extensions, very important. We need to assign users to extensions, configure answering rules. So if your customer has a lot of unique routing needs, let's make sure we get very detailed notes of that information. Whether it's us here at NUSO, so our sales ops specialists, it's the people under Sarah, or even Sarah herself, because she is involved in these directly quite often. We'll make sure to gather what we need. But if you're doing it, make sure we get those exact routing rules. That way we can build it all before we go live. Shipping the hardware. NUSO has a great, I can't talk today. We have a great white glove service when it comes to phones. So we can lease them. If you get them through us, we'll ship them out fully provisioned. And then it's essentially plug and play when they arrive. So that's important, that when they come, decide where they want to go. Do you want them to go directly to your customer's office? Do you want them to go to your office because you're going to bring them to the customer and do the installation? Important details to know. And then Sarah kind of talked about this, but test everything. I'm the biggest preacher of test everything, because one of the biggest hurdles, I do a lot of training for end users. So our partners will do these deployments and I'll come and do some training. And the biggest fear I get is people ask a ton of questions, and all those questions could be answered if they just mess with the tools and things like that happen. So test everything. We want to make sure that the deployment's smooth, things are working, the auto attendants are correct, the queues are built properly. It all makes a difference. So test. Can't say it enough.
Awesome. And then I want to, if you go back really quick, Phil, I just want to add a couple of things on each of those points that you made through kind of the configuration process. So the kind of the first point in regards to the database workbook that kind of houses all of the programming details, that is provided by the project manager that is assigned. However, it is also, if you, as our partners, a lot of our partners complete it. So it does make the implementations go a lot faster. So these are already kind of pre-filled by the time a project manager is assigned, if you've been working with the end user client to kind of gather this during the planning phase. So there is the rough draft template, the blank template on our resource portal, our NUSO resource portal, that is available, and then we can drop it in this chat as well. And in regards to, I wanted to just briefly touch on the hardware and equipment component of a project. Although if your customer or the end user client is going to lease those phones monthly from us, the phones will be white gloved, provisioned, and the information that we need to ship the equipment is, because we can work on the routing and auto attendance and all of those kind of things while project is in works, but the things to actually ship the hardware that we need to have them programmed is, username, extension, and if that phone number or that user or extension needs a direct phone number or for assigning like an internal number. So those are like the three main pieces of information that I need to have or my team needs to have so we can boot those phones up, put labels on them of where they need to go to make it when you guys, our partners or our end user gets them, it makes it easy just to grab it and place them on desk. Oh, this phone goes to Johnny, this phone goes to Susan. But we need that information to ship the hardware if it's being provided. Now, on the flip side of that, if you are bringing your own device, same type of thing. I need us to be able to program them and add them into, whether it be the Yealink or GrandStream or Polycom redirect servers. We need to know the extensions, phone numbers, and all that, so you guys can remotely boot the phones up and program it and label them so you can take them on site. That's kind of all I had for that. Just wanted to add a little extra color to those on the slide.
It's great. I love it. All right. Final phase. Talk about the rollout and support. Alone, we can do so little. Together, we can do so much. This is such a great quote in relation to the partner relationship that we have at NUSO with our partners. We work with so many incredible partners, and we've got a ton on this call, I know. And it's just amazing how good collaboration can just make some incredible stuff happen, and end users, they get the benefit. So communicate the change. Now, If any of you have deployed phones at just 1, 2, or 3 systems, you know that sometimes things can change. It's just part of life, right? So when it does happen, it's all about proper communication to the appropriate channels so we can make that effective change. And amazing examples of this is, you might do everything right, get every piece of data from your customer, but maybe your customer forgets to tell you that they needed a phone in the kitchen. It's not your fault. They didn't tell you, but we can make that change. We can adjust. We can get them that phone. This stuff happens. And when it does, let us know. We will get that stuff figured out. Training is important.
I would
Go ahead.
That's not what it say when it happens. I'm going to say it always happens. And I think that it's normal. Every project, I call them first day of business changes that we'll talk about it's, you will set it up and gather all of the info. And then Susan might decide, oh, I want to add so-and-so into the ring, or might want these buttons to look just like this. Or, oh man, like you said, I need that kitchen phone I forgot about. It's all of those things, that kind of during the rollout and support that make it critical to kind of go through those things and have those champions within that organization that can help others before that go live date.
Yep. No, it's so true. And it ties well into the training aspect of things. So here at NUSO, we can train your customers on a bunch of our tools. So any of our portals, anybody needs admin rights, any of our services that are directly working through web interfaces like web phones, mobile apps. I mean, we do training. I do trainings with end users all the time on this stuff. And we do have some partners. They want to do it all themselves, and that is great. We'll do training with you as the partner to get you up to speed on what you need to know. The one thing that we try to avoid training on is the physical phones. And that's because the partner experience of training them in person with the physical phones is something we just can't even get close to doing as well because we're not in person. That's something that our partners do. You as our partners, this is your customer. You're the face of this relationship. And when they order physical phones and they want training on that device, we highly recommend the partners handle this aspect of the training. In worst case scenarios, we can jump in, but it's just not ideal because it's done over a video call. It's not nearly as thorough or as friendly to the end user. So training is huge. And again, let us know how we can help. Again, portal trainings, all the different various tools. I do admin training with end users all the time. It's a great thing we love doing. Use multiple methods. So for larger deployments, consider a mix of live training itself. So this ties in perfectly to, again, the in-person for the physical phones. And then maybe we do, so like just did one today. We did a real large Microsoft Teams deployment. They jumped into Teams Phone via our platform Connect. And I ran an entire training session for that customer. It was actually done in 2 phases. We did a training with half their group, which is like 40 people today. And we did one a couple days ago for the other group. So those types of trainings are just fantastic for us. Again, it's all done over the phone. We do screen shares. We walk through the tools. And then, of course, we send them guides in post so that they have this stuff as a resource going forward. All right. So for the first few days after deployment, ideally, we try to do a touch base, whether it's either with a training, so they're going live, where we confirm that settings are correct, there's no changes needed. But ideally, once you go live, we like to stay real close with that customer to make sure, like Sarah was saying, if and when there are changes, we can jump on them quite quickly. We can only make changes if we are told. We can't read customers' minds. If no one's talking to us, if partners aren't talking to us, we don't know what to do. So just talk to us, let us know, and we can get involved and make those pivots as they come. And this, believe it or not, also leads into upsales. I can't tell you how many trainings I get involved in where they're like, you know what? We actually need call recording. They never even got call recording to begin with, and so we added on. Or they're like, you know what? We need contact center. We need an MMS platform for texting. These things can lead into upsales. That's another huge benefit to staying close with your customer right around that time they go live. Sarah, anything you want to add here?
Yeah, I was just going to say, with my team, with the project management team. So kind of in this rollout support phase, this is with those during that first day of business changes. This is where either the project management team working with our partner and or the end user will do this soft handover to and transition into our 24/7 knock support team where they can assist with, so we either a project manager will, receive these first day of business changes that are needed and either quickly address them where they can and fix them, or if it's something that we need to, again, involve an engineer or our technical support team or our knock to configure or do those, that's where that kind of soft handover transition from the project management, support customer service team to our knock and that's where we hand that kind of off and transition that and provide a kind of who to contact list for that customer that includes billing and support and the sales management team. So it kind of gives a who to call after they've gone live, a contact list. And that's also available on our resources management portal. That's available as well.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Okay, look at that. We're doing great on time. That was about 20 minutes of talking, exactly what we wanted. We had quite a bit to go over. Let's dive into questions. So, any questions on anything we talked about, maybe even something we did in relation to deploying here at NUSO? While we're waiting for people to get something in the chat, you can use the Q&A or the chat, either one. You know what? That's old. I didn't get rid of that. Yeah, pricing updates we're past 10.1, so you should all know about that. What I always say at the end of these is, if you don't know who your account manager is, because they're your first source of contact, they're your sales contact. If you don't know who that is, let us know. Throw your name in the chat, or email marketing@nuso.cloud, and we'll connect you to your account manager. If you ever need help with a deal, if you ever need info on a product, maybe you just don't know where to go, that's what we recommend as a partner. Go to them first. We can help you out. Okay, let's see what questions we got in the chat. What are your IP ranges to whitelist? Ooh, Sarah, that's a great question. Do you know that off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head, but I have a document that I can drop in here.
I didn't think you did. That's a great question.
And then, yes, but I will get that list from our engineer portal and send it over here to you guys here in the chat. Great question, though. That is a great question.
Great question. All right. Yeah, it's interesting. While we're waiting for more questions, we deploy all different types of products. So we obviously deploy phones, headsets, contact centers, all kinds of stuff. But there's so many consistent things that we can avoid consistent issues by locking in some of the things we talked about today, especially communication. It's like one of the most simple things, but you'd be shocked how quickly that deteriorates if it's not locked in. If we don't have solid communication on the simplest things, you can get all types of gaps and holes in deployments. So letting us know real simply, real plainly, whether it's through an email or a call, makes such a difference. And Sarah just threw that in the chat. Fantastic. Thank you, Sarah.
Well, more coming. I'm getting the ones for our NetSapien green. So Metaswitch is known as our orange for our UCAS. So I'm grabbing our green NetSapien IP addresses that need to be whitelisted as well.
Great info there. Yep. All right. And there are no dumb questions. So if for some reason you have a question and you think it's a little silly, there's no dumb questions. There really aren't. If you're trying to be better at deploying or making sure your customer has the best possible experience to, what you're selling them, which is what everybody wants, right? Don't be afraid to ask any questions. We will get this webinar out in post to everybody. Expect that sometime probably next week. Oh, here's another good one. Does the NUSO billing start at the time the test numbers are activated? or at the go live date?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if we are turning up service with a temp number only, and there is going to be porting later, so if we issue and there's no porting tied to that project, and there's no port orders or project, and then we will turn it up with and billing will start with that test number. If there is porting tied to it, you will not be billed until the port go live date. Does that help answer the question?
Yeah. Now that cool. Makes it's basically two different answers. Depends on the scenario.
Depends. Correct.
Yep. Great question. We've got 2 minutes. So if you got any questions, throw them in. As I was saying before, we had that question come in. This webinar will come to everybody's inbox in post. So if you want someone else to see this who wasn't on, you'll have the ability to share that through an unlisted YouTube link that we throw out to everybody. Again, expect that probably next week. Well, I'm not seeing any more questions. Thank you all for joining. This has been great. Sarah, I cannot thank you enough. I know your time is so valuable. So thank you. And with that, we're going to end today's call. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week, and we'll catch you on the next one.